Hey guys, 2002 Audi A4 Quattro with the 1.8T motor. The other day, found on the driver's side of this grill, as you can see, the condenser is soaking wet with coolant. The radiator gave out right at the tank side. On the driver's side, it was just shooting out all over the hood, coming straight through that grill. Luckily, the car didn't overheat because, as you guys know, these A4s with the 1.8Ts love to overheat. Even with the smallest amount of air in the system, they love to overheat, guys. So what we're gonna do is swap this out. I've already took out the headlights, as you can see, and the front bumper cover. That's a completely different video. I would have did one on that, but there's so many videos on YouTube, good videos on how to get these lights out, these bumpers. I mean, you guys, you A4 guys know how to do that, so we won't even waste time with that. I was looking up some videos for the radiators, and I seen a couple of them, couple good ones. But I wanted a little something more in detail. So let's get started, guys. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, even before you pull the headlights out, disconnect the ground side of your battery. Just get that cable out of there. It's a 10mm, guys. That way you're not worried about, anything happening or short circuiting or whatever. It's just cheap insurance. Disconnect that out of there. Also take the snorkel inlet out that goes to your air box. Obviously, I took out the air box. I got a couple filters in here, cold air filters. I did a couple separate video on that. You guys go check it out. Sounds a lot better. Turbo sounds much better. Breathes better. I'm still working on a heat shield. I have not did a part 2 to the video for the heat shield. But in the meantime, guys, it does make a difference. Wakes the car up. And check it out. So what you got to do here, guys, there's a couple of bolts. I'll give you one tip without going into the whole bumper detail. There's a couple bolts right there. They're T40s, okay? Loosen those T40s up by pulling out the fog light covers from the bumper. They just come right out. And loosen them. Don't remove them all the way because it's a pain to get them back in. It's a pain to line them up. Loosen them up to where you could see that little nub right there sticking out. Okay, loosen them up to about right there. As you're loosening them on each side, just kind of tug on the bumper, the top of the bumper where the headlight would go. Just tug on it a little bit, and once you loosen those up, those T40s up enough, the bumper will slide right out, okay? Obviously, you could see where the leak was coming from in this area. It actually came from the tank side, and it was shooting out everywhere there, guys. It was coming straight through the grill and the hood. Steam everywhere, obviously, coolant all over the windshield. It was a mess, but again, luckily it didn't overheat. There's also a couple plastic guides that go on each side of the radiator and condenser. Couple, I believe they're T20s. Just keep your stuff in order, guys. Yeah, get those out of your way. Next, we're going to remove, or at least loosen, the power steering cooler down in here. Unplug it, which is another reason why we get that negative cable on the battery disconnected. So that way, when you're plugging and unplugging these plugs on this vehicle, you have no issues. It's just cheap insurance. Another thing I did too, remove the intercooler. It's kind of like you'll see it right there, the plastic piece. It's kind of like a vent. That way all the air goes straight into the intercooler. Good time to clean it out, guys. Mine was full of leaves and stuff. Clean it out. Just make sure that your intercooler's clean of any debris from the road. Now's the best time. Another quick tip, put a drain pan right where I have mine. You're going to see that white plug there, especially if you have the nozzles for your headlights, that little white plug. It's an easy, quick disconnect. Once you disconnect that, you're going to have windshield washer fluid all over your floor in your garage. It's a mess. It's cheap. Just dump it. Or save it if you want to recycle it, but I just dumped it. And we're going to get started with the power steering cooler. Okay, guys, once you unplug the actual sensor here, you're going to come over here. You're going to see a T30 bolt right there for the power steering cooler. You could use a hand ratchet if you want, or you can use air. I'm using air just to get it done quicker. All you want to do with this is just grab it, kind of pull it out of the way. And you also have a T20 sitting right underneath where the bracket for the plug goes. Again, you could do it by hand. I'm going to use air. A little quicker. Alright guys, once you disconnect that power steering cooler, you can very easily take it. Okay, you can see how easy it moves. Don't yank on it too hard. You just really want to just move it out of the way a little bit. That way it's out of the way from the condenser and the radiator. And our next step right now is what we're going to do. We're going to disconnect the 4 bolts, the hex bolts that hold the condenser in. This Audi has ice cold air. I don't want to disconnect. I don't want to disconnect the actual inlets for the Freon because I don't want to recharge it, and I don't want to get it in the air. It's not healthy to breathe, guys. Plus, it's under a lot of pressure. So I'm just going to disconnect these 4 bolts. There's one right there holding the condenser on. There's one there. We're going to come across. You got one right there. And you got one right here, guys. I'm going to disconnect those and show you what's next after that, okay? Alright, guys, so there's the condenser. Obviously, you could see I still have the line connected. So be very, very careful. It's still connected on that side. Don't forget, there's a plug at the condenser right here. It's got the quick disconnect on that as well. Little tab. Be careful with those tabs. They crack. You guys know they're very brittle. And there's the radiator, and it is a mess. Again, this is a 2002, guys, and I'm pretty sure that that radiator is stock. Car's got about 175,000 miles, and she runs really well. But again, the coolant issues are just, you know, they come and bite you every once in a while. We've already been through, you'll see a couple of the videos I got for the coolant flange, thermostat, housing, you name it. I mean, we've done it, so obviously you guys have definitely been through it as well. Always coolant issues on these 1.8Ts. Alright guys, now from the inside you want to disconnect the T30 bolt. I'm going to point to it right here for the transcooler. You want to disconnect that. Very carefully get behind it and pry it with like a flathead screwdriver. And once I disconnect the top one, I'll show you what we're going to do with the bottom one. Alright guys, there's one more T30 behind the radiator on the bottom. Right in here, you'll see it. You're going to have to get from underneath the car. Get from behind it. Maybe use an extension like I'm using here. I'm using just a quarter inch extension with a T30 socket. I've already got the top one disconnected. And once I disconnect this, it's going to want to leak. So what I did was I got underneath here with a vice grip, and I took a couple paint sticks. And I just got the paint sticks, cracked them, as you can see here, and just squeezed the hose so that way none of the fluid comes out. And the paint sticks are going to make sure that you don't puncture the hose, because that would be a major pain, guys. Okay guys, once you loosen the T30 bolts from the top and bottom transmission cooler lines, what you want to do, what I found much easier, and it takes a few minutes to wait, but be patient because you don't want to break or bend anything. Get some PB Blast or any kind of penetrant. And what you want to do is put a flat screwdriver or anything here very slowly, and you're going to notice that it's disconnected out of the top of the radiator. Okay, obviously you could see it there. This hole right here, that's where the bolt goes into the radiator for the T30. And now we're going to go and disconnect the bottom one, which is down in here. I'm going to show you. You can see my tool right in here. And I'm going to work it slowly, but I'm going to need 2 hands, guys. So I'll get right back to you once I disconnect it. And there it is, guys. You can see how I got the lower line disconnected. Now you're going to lose some fluid coming out of the actual radiator itself, the cooler. But as long as you crimp that hose down, as you can see, the hose isn't leaking anything. As you can see it right there, because I got it crimped down. It's just dripping from whatever residual fluid was in there. But that's about it. You're not going to lose much, maybe a quarter of a quart coming out of the radiator. And the only thing we have left to do now you're gonna notice there's two little clips that go at the top here. I'll show you exactly what you're supposed to do with those. Give me 1 sec, let me grab them. All right guys, so what you gotta do here, there's a little tab inside. And what you wanna do is take that tab. Let me see if I can get it with the light. You're gonna take the tab, push it forward, and then pry the bottom up. You're gonna need 2 hands on this. Push the tab in, pry it up. You're gonna see it coming out. Once it comes out about that high, push it on the radiator, pull the clip up, and there it is, guys. All right, guys, the only thing left now is to disconnect the top coolant hose, and it has the little quick disconnect with the pin. Get yourself one of these little pick tools here. And what you want to do is get that pick tool, okay, and you want to slide it underneath this pin. You're going to see the pin, guys. You'll see how it's going to move. Okay, you can see it, but I need 2 hands. Once you pull that pin up, all you got to do then is very carefully pull on the hose. Try to grab it, not by the actual hose itself here, but try to grab it at the base and just softly wiggle it up and down, side to side, and it will come loose. Make sure you have a catch pan underneath to catch any coolant. And after the top hose, we're going to do the bottom hose, and this radiator will come out.